Good afternoon. Welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show and our World Cup Daily Show, looking at all things 2026 World Cup. I'm Chris Bell, as I say, joined by Jason Booker and Lewis Sale. England are out. Tuchel's going nowhere. We'll see you later. Thanks for joining us. Could basically be the gist of the show because there's not much to discuss, really, is there? How are we, lads? The morning after the night before.
Yeah, I'm all right. I think probably the same as pretty much every other England. Well, no, maybe not. I don't know. Frustrated, upset, a little bit irritated, and ready to get back on with club football. That's kind of how I feel about it, if I'm honest.
Yeah, exactly. Let's just focus on the club stuff then, yeah?
Lou,
Chris? That'll be back before we know it, Lou.
Yeah, I'm very, very much short and sweet, isn't it? Yeah, I think, I think we've got, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, absolute tops. I think I could talk for about 4 or 5 hours. I'm just livid. I'm absolutely fuming with how we've gone out. But we'll get into that, won't we?
I mean, we don't have to. We just
no, we do. We absolutely
I think we should
do.
leave it there. As it sounds like I'm livid, but let's not explain why he's livid. Let's just leave it at that. Don't forget, you can get your thoughts and comments into us here on the West Yorkshire Football Show. Let us know your thoughts and views. I'm hoping that we're going to get some of the regular faces that have joined us over the course. Well, frankly, pretty much every day with these World Cup dailies over the last 3 or 4 weeks or so. Brownie's just teeing you up there nicely. Into him, Lou, says Brownie. I mean, right, Jay, I'll let you start. Just go, mate.
Well, I mean, I'm going to come at it from a slightly different angle, which won't surprise you, Chris. But for me, last night was a culmination of exactly how the whole tournament had looked, if I'm honest. And people are upset then with the end result. But the truth is, the whole tournament looked exactly like last night. The difference with last night is that we came across an opposition that were far better than what we'd come across before. If anything, and Tuchel said this in his post-match interview, I think the performance up until 65th minute was the best performance that we'd had. Considering the level of opposition, we were all right. I thought we played okay. We had okay control. I thought in the second half we came out in the beginning part of that second half and played really well, got the goal. But then a combination of what Tuchel did and the issues within this squad and mentality has been praised during this tournament, but I think there was still a mentality issue as well. I think that there was a case that we crumbled as well, that the pressure took toll. I'm just not that surprised. I think we saw a similar version of it in the Norway game, and Norway just weren't able to capitalise on it as much as what Argentina did. And we've only got ourselves to blame, really. We could have easily gone out in the round of 32 if we'd have come across a slightly better opposition. I don't think there's much to really take from this other than the fact that we managed to get to a semi-final just because of the way that it panned out, if that makes sense. It seems difficult to not give credit for getting to a semi-final because we got there, but it doesn't feel to me like we deserve it. We didn't deserve to be in a final based on yesterday's performance. We didn't deserve to be in a final based on the whole tournament's performance.
I think for me, if we got to the final, you deserve to be there. I don't think you can get to a final and not deserve to be there because you've won all your games to get to that point, and you can't, like, the level of performance regardless. You can't take that away from anything. Like, you know, Argentina haven't been great throughout this whole competition at times, but they've won the games to get them to a final, so they deserve to be there.
I know what you're saying.
If it was with us, to be fair, I think where we've given Tuchel a lot of praise over the course of this competition, I was talking to some mates here, and I'd say probably 95% of the decisions he's made in game so far in this tournament, he's got right, and we've given praise for that. The main one that I can think where he got wrong were the halftime changes against Norway, but he rectified that within 15, 20 minutes sort of thing, and we obviously kind of took a bit more, got back into that game with a foothold and kind of went on, and he rectified his mistakes, basically. Yesterday, he didn't. I think for me is the issue.
I agree with you, and I was thinking about this morning. I've watched the Gary Neville, Roy Keane, and Wright Six Football chat this morning as well, and the way that I kind of processed it, I reckon Anthony Barry on his own would have been able to tactically be able to get us to this semi-final with the squad that he had. So yes, we've praised him and I've praised him. There's been moments within the games where I've been like, yeah, that's what you pay the big bucks for and that's what you get. But when it really counted, in the first time we were properly tested, he failed.
Yeah.
The call didn't work, it's fair to say. But
Yeah.
I guess that's...
But
I mean,
Chris,
I know what you mean about the whole Anthony Barry thing, but to be fair, it's a coaching team as a unit. I don't think you can just say, oh, well, without Tuchel, Anthony Barry could have got us back there. It's a collective unit. And I think one of the things that Tuchel made a fair point of throughout the competition and beforehand, actually, is that they are very much a backroom team, not just Tuchel making the calls and those putting out the fucking cones sort of thing.
I'm just making a point that, you know, the profile of Tuchel should be worth more than that. You know what I mean? That's what we thought we were getting. The reason that there's such a dramatic response to what happened last night was because, in my opinion, it was so naive. It wasn't a case that he just got a little bit wrong and he kind of got out mustered by Scaloni or something like that. It was so evidently the wrong decision. I mean, we were all kind of saying it before Argentina even scored the first goal. Bear in mind, it was like 20, 25 minutes that we decided that we were going to set up like a League Two team away at the Emirates. That's what it was like. We were so... I was watching it downstairs with the missus, and there were a point where I laughed and I said, I'm pretty sure we've got 7 defenders on the pitch. Like, you cannot set up like that against a team as good as Argentina with the likes of Lionel Messi in the team. It's suicide. He on his own cost us the opportunity. He'd have been better saying, right, I'm going to go sit in the stands. You boys just decide between you what you think the best course of action is. I'm being serious. I'm being deadly serious. That would have been more productive than what he did. And you could see it in the response of the players after the game. Like, they're trying to, you know, they're being professional almost in that they're doing what the manager has asked. And that was the result of it. I'm not saying that the players get out of it scot-free either. There's moments in the you know the end of that game where, you know, Pickford holding on to the ball too long, Kane nearly getting dispossessed in his own box. Them moments shift the momentum and cause a problem in themselves. So they don't get away with it scot-free. But ultimately, it all came down to the decisions that were made on the touchline.
Yeah, by that coaching team. Jed's in touch. He says we went into Mexico mode after we scored. Everything else went out the window. Go on, Lou. You've got 20-something minutes rather than 4 hours, though.
Buckle in. He failed. He failed on the biggest stage. Yeah, you can put the kettle on. He failed at the biggest stage when it mattered the most. He's got credit in the bank previously for what he's done in previous games, and I'm with Jay that performance-wise we've done it in patches, but not consistent enough across the tournament. But that's tournament football. You're going to get that. And I think I've said this before in our shows and in between our chats that he squeezed every pip out of some of that squad to get the best out of him, and he got us through to that point. Can't take that away. But then it quickly gets thrown out the window, as Jed says, after what happened last night. I've watched some of that game back this morning, and I'm even more livid than what I was last night. Tuchel came in as England manager to win the tournament. It's plain and simple as that. Let's not sugarcoat anything. He was brought in on a deal until the end of the World Cup. The FA have decided to extend his deal to after the Euros, which, rightly or wrongly, some people may see as getting a bit of an extra pass or whatever that looks like. Ultimately, he got brought in to win a tournament. He's failed to do that. He failed to get us over the line when that was what he was brought in to do. Listen, I wasn't Southgate's greatest fan. I'll give him a lot of credit for what he did to turn around the nation in what was an absolutely precarious position. And he got us to a point where I think he couldn't take us any further. I expected with Tuchel to take us further, and it hasn't. It hasn't. It's as simple as that. And I'm hearing some of the comments. He came into the job almost having a bit of a sly pop at Southgate about not having hunger or what did he say? We were more afraid to drop out of the tournament than having excitement and hunger to win it. Where were that last night? Where were that last night with his substitutes and his changes in his tactical formation? Didn't see much of that. When we've gone behind, we've fought back against other teams, and Jed mentions Mexico there. Mexico are not the greatest team in the world. People are giving them raps because it's the Azteca and the altitude and all that. And they did all right in the group stages, but they're not an Argentina, they're not a France, they're not a Spain. And they're going to put balls in, and they haven't got the quality that Argentina had. We could deal with that. We could almost deal a little bit with Norway, but we can't deal with it when we're doing that against Argentina. You know, I'm looking and I'm hearing the comments and watching again back. You know, apparently says that we were passive after the first goal. So then he brings Gordon, who is a threat on that left-hand side, who's just got a goal. And knowing Gordon is the way he does, he's a confidence player. His confidence is sky after that goal. Brings him off for a defender. Changes the system. But then the crosses are coming in. Pickford makes an unbelievable save to his credit. But then makes more defensive changes. Argentina make 4 changes. He doesn't react to it enough. He had an opportunity. He had 2 or 3 warning signs before they actually scored a goal to go back and revert or just change it up a bit, because we could see it happening, like Jay was saying. We saw this happening. I'd say 99% of people watching that game could see it, and I cannot understand for the life of me how the coaching staff just couldn't tweak it or see it, because we've been so good in the previous games to get us over that line when we really needed it, because the squad hasn't performed as to what we expected it to do. But then we're saying we're passive as crosses coming in. Well, the best header of a ball that we've had on the pitch when he's come on has been Dan Burn. So why didn't you bring Dan Burn on first of all? If he was worried about the crosses and being passive, why didn't you bring Dan Burn on first of all? I don't know. But then he brings him on later on in game when it's almost, you know, backs against the wall. It's far too late. And then panics and puts him up front. What are we doing? It's like Sunday League stuff. It is like Sunday League stuff of what happened last night. I mean, there's a token gesture of bringing Ivan Toney, who hasn't played a minute. I don't think he even got a touch of the ball. The last 2 minutes, the game's gone. It's far too late in the day to come back and score a goal to take it to extra time against Argentina. Look, you know, people saying about Argentina, oh, we might beat Argentina, we might do this, might do that. Argentina are a very, very good side. They're better than us. Fact. And then people were expecting us to walk over Argentina going, oh, we'll beat them because we've not been great in the tournament. They've been better than us. But yet we stick 11 men behind the ball with half an hour to go, and we can't defend. Harry Kane's up there by himself. Harry Kane has been not far off being pretty much an isolated figure, carrying a player like that in that formation. He doesn't do anything. He can't press. He hasn't got the pace. He hasn't got that energy. I said this is deteriorated over the past 2-3 games. Last night, when he's running around for half an hour, he might as well be in with Tuchel, as Jay says, in that stand, because he wasn't doing much for us. You've got to have an outlet up there. Honestly, I'm livid, because we weren't great across the tournament, but we had an opportunity to win that game last night, and we gifted them an opportunity to do it, and they've absolutely taken it. Listen, credit to Argentina, but I'm telling you now, they're not going to have an easy 30 minutes in a semi-final of the World Cup in a long, long time.
Lou, let me just as well add to that. A manager can make a mistake, and that's absolutely fine. Why wasn't it reverted after Enzo Fernandez scored?
Yep,
that's my thing.
I think it could have been done before. I think it could have been done before.
It could have been.
But if you're going to do it as well, absolutely.
But you know, benefit of the doubt. Things don't. You know, managers don't always get everything right. But they've scored that. At that point, the team was so unbalanced and was so defensive heavy.
Yeah,
we were going to carry on as it was, couldn't it? It couldn't change on the pitch with what was there. That's, to be fair, that's my frustration. I think I said this last night, is that when they scored, he didn't make immediate changes to try and get a Saka, a Rashford on at that point or whatever.
I hear you. I think it was almost too late. I agree. I'm not disputing it in the slightest. I think once Argentina score, there's going to be only one way that game could have potentially gone.
Yeah.
And we needed somebody like Tuchel, who we've brought in to do the job, to help us through those moments. And he failed. He failed to do the job as what's been asked for him to get us over the line. It's as simple as that. And I'll also say this, and this might cause a few comments and controversy and stuff, but Jed Spence had a great game. Until that final 20-25 minutes. He looked like the player people thought he was before he came in the team. I watched that game back. He had very little support as well, because he took Gordon off, so Gordon wasn't able to help him. If you watch where all them crosses are coming from, they're coming from his space. And the guy is out on his feet for that second goal. that first goal, we talk about Enzo Fernandez. Before that, before the corner comes in, and you know what I'm going to say about this, and what really, really grinds my gears is where players do not make themselves look big and stand tall and take one for the team. Instead of running sideways and sliding, take it on yourself. You're playing for your country in a World Cup semi-final, face up to it, stand up and own it. And unfortunately, didn't see, and it might be through tiredness, and it's a split-second decision, and it's hard because I'm never going to be in that situation, and I can't even imagine what it's like to be in that occasion. But Jude did it for that first one, and then the second one, there's so much space. I know you called it, Jay. So much space for Enzo Fernandez to get there, and Jude then goes sliding in. Make yourself big. The second goal comes in, Spence taps it, spins around on his legs. You don't know if he's going to get cramp or he's tired, and then Messi is able to get a ball in. Stop the cross. Make yourself big. Stop the crosses coming in. So we can blame Tuchel, and I'd absolutely lay 90% of the blame at his door. But also, the way that we conceded them goals was very, very poor. And in fairness of how we've conceded goals across the tournament.
I agree with you completely. The first goal sent me to Mars because we give Enzo Fernandez the space of the edge of the box for the corner that resulted in the goal. He gets a free strike. Pickford has to tip it over the bar. It was probably going over, but I understood why he made the save. I don't even think the second goal is that great. It's a professional, top elite footballer striking the ball under zero pressure.
Yeah,
The gap is so big between him receiving the ball and the players on the edge of the 6-yard box. It's like 30 yards. So, and then, Jude turns away from it. But, I mean, he's got all that ground to cover before he gets there. It's too late.
Like we've had that warning 30 seconds before it even happened.
Yeah, I know.
So it's not as if we've not been warned about it. If it'd come out of absolutely nowhere, but also, even despite that, he'd done it in the first half with Fernandez where he hit a shot from distance. So we know what he does. We've seen him at Chelsea do it. So close him down.
Yeah.
Why we're not learning from those mistakes on the pitch and off the pitch as well? They made that change. You put Gonzalez on that left-hand side. They took Paredes off because I think we worried he might get a little bit too edgy with Bellingham and getting in that situation. They put Enzo in that hole, and we didn't react to it. Scaloni's absolutely schooled Tuchel last night.
Just want to bring Jed's comment in. He says, we packed our 6-yard box, then I make take set piece shot corners. No one picking up the loose players on the box. Guess what? Goals and assists from Messi. Obviously, the third one, Martinez's header. There was the second goal came from that Messi cross on the right-hand side. I mean, I guess there's not much more to say on the match itself and on the situation where we stand. Obviously, we've got that third place playoff game to come, which obviously Tuchel will be in charge of. He'll see the tournament out in that way, and then on we go and see what happens. I guess the big question is where do we as a country go from here? What do we expect will happen? What would you like to happen? And one of the things for me is a question mark on Harry Kane as well, because for the last 3 games he was bloody anonymous. Is his race run? Is it time to start looking for a new main striker in the England side? Because what I don't understand is why we kept him on the pitch for so long in all of the last 3 games when he offered jack shit for like the last half an hour of every game that he played.
You need to play to his strengths, though, don't you?
100%.
I mean,
obviously in the hour mark where he's then knackered or whatever, and I get the playing to his strengths, but if you're not going to play to his strengths, it doesn't need to be there. We were saying, thinking all three of the knockout games, like get him off, get fresh legs on that are going to be able to move, either hold the ball up and be physical with Tony, or have the pace and energy to run in behind with Watkins.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. I think there were times in the games where the momentum needed to be shifted to somebody that could threaten them in behind. Yeah. I called for Watkins against Mexico, I think it was at the time, when we were down to 10 men and we had no outlet. And then last night I called for Rashford to come on at the 9 when, if that's the way we're going to go about it. Again, this is a Tuchel issue, though. This isn't an Harry Kane issue. Because when you're making them changes and playing the way that you are, give us an outlet, for God's sake. The players are out there, they're dying on the feet. And we've got no outlet that can even stretch the opposition.
That was the one thing that seems really peculiar last night for me, is that, for example, against Mexico and even against Norway when we had to kind of dig in a bit, but certainly against Mexico, is he did freshen up the forward line. I think Rodgers ended up effectively coming as a false 9 at one point, but he did freshen up the attacking options as well as changing that defense. And that seems to be the one thing that was really odd from last night, is that he never attempted to freshen up those attacking areas. He made the defensive changes and brought them on, fair enough.
Yeah.
That had worked in previous games, but he never then tried to freshen up the energy out wide. He left Bellingham dead on his feet. He left Kane on dead on his feet. The fact that he didn't freshen up, the outball options as well.
Rodgers would.
Whereas he had previously, Rodgers would have. Whereas he had previously was very odd.
Yeah. Go on,
there was an occasion at the end when Bellingham was taking that ball down that left wing after getting a pass from Kane. He's got 4 Argentina players around him. No England guys in support. No, not one. Not one. I mean, the right back's winning Jude's face, giving him what for. And rightly so. Kate, I 100% agree with Jay with this one. This is on Tuchel again because Kane has his strengths. His strengths are to drop deep and ping balls about. And he was doing that in the first half. And this isn't Harry Kane slagging match whatsoever, because I actually said this last night between us all. I felt really sorry for those players last night. And I think the reaction at the end of that game suggests of what they thought as well. Because you would normally, I say normally, that's not the right word. You may see some players at the end in absolute tears, losing in the World Cup semi-final. That is some of their dreams, that they may never have the opportunity to play a semi-final again. They looked more angry last night. They looked fuming the way that game ended. I don't see many players with tears in their eyes, and like you sometimes see. And I think even a lot of the fans were just gobsmacked at what they saw. Kane, you're carrying a player like Kane in that system because he doesn't offer that pressing. That's never been his game. It never has been. His game is to drop deep, ping balls, hold up play, link up. But the thing is, the way the game was going, the ball's not even getting to Kane. No. It's never going to come out in that situation. It's just coming back and back. So either leave Gordon on and let him run up through the front and press, or bring a fresh legs in Rashford or Watkins or somebody just to freshen it up a little bit, even if it's an Eze or whoever. But Kane, with the greatest respect to him, isn't that kind of player. And then when he gets in them defensive positions, he was dribbling in the inside of his box, didn't know where to go under pressure from 2 Argentina players, and Toe pokes it out for a throw-in because he's not used to that position. So you've got to play to these players' strengths. And again, last night was an absolute catalogue of errors in that final 30 minutes. And I can't really see any positive change that was made and how we were going to get over the line with that. I just don't see it. Being stubborn and resolute to your opinions of, we'll set up camp a little bit because it's worked against other teams, doesn't work for every game. It doesn't. And against Argentina, with the likes of Messi, who will pick a ball out from anywhere, as he was doing throughout the game. But what I will say is, we did an half-decent job on him because he's unbelievably one of the best players we've ever seen. And sometimes you just can't stop him. But we did okay with him.
Yeah. We did a good job for Messi.
He was able to do what we gave him. We honestly rolled out the red carpet and let him play in a tuxedo for that last 25 minutes. Yeah. Easy. It was easy for him to do what he needed to do.
Jed says Tuchel's hanging out for extra time. Nigel, thanks for getting in touch and getting your comments in. Nigel, he says it's been happening for decades. England go in front, then sit back and like the pressure. Go on up, go for the killer second. Don't give methods of space, it'll hurt you, and so it proved. On the plus side, Jude Bellingham tournament was outstanding. Same with Jed Spence the last few games. We have the talent, but the mental strength to win semi-finals still haunts England. It's an interesting situation because one of my mates kind of said in the group chat last night, we just don't have that that kind of know-how in the big situations. And I kind of said to him, like, what we should do by now. It's weird. We're no longer we're not a side anymore that isn't used to these now. It's weird. Like, as an England fan growing up, fair enough, we weren't used to these. We were going out in rounds of 16s and quarterfinals. And then we had that spell where we've now made, 2 finals, a semi and a quarters in the previous 4 for tonight, where actually we should now have the know-how in these situations because we have been there, certainly with some of the key players as well that are in these squads. And it was a weird one where we just couldn't call upon that experience that a lot of those players have had. The likes of Stones, the likes of Bellingham recently, Saka, obviously I really want on the pitch, but there's enough know-how in that squad from the last 8 years that does know about playing in semis and finals.
Not just on England duty either, though, Chris. Like, these players are top-level Premier League footballers that are winning Premier Leagues and competing for Champions Leagues. And, I don't think that we can say that this team don't have the experience necessary to play in these moments. They're just not, no less. I know Argentina have won a World Cup 4 years ago, but when they had not won a World Cup 4 years ago, they still had, I would say, the same or even less big game experience than our boys do. So I just think it's an easy thing to fall on for me. It's a systematic issue. Maybe it does follow England a little bit. You can have this about club football as well, can't you? How these kind of things just follow teams. But last night was a combination that was led by the manager.
It was.
The problem is, and we know this, and we've said it between a fair few of us, we are not good enough without the help of an elite manager to get us over the line. We've shown that in previous games in this tournament. We needed Tuchel to get us out of the trouble that we may have been in. Because we could have gone out to Congo if it hadn't been for Tuchel. We could have gone out to Norway if it hadn't been for Tuchel. We could have probably gone out to Mexico if it had not been for Tuchel. The squad isn't good enough. We're not good enough to win the World Cup without a manager intervention and in-game management being at the top of the level. That there's no way of sugarcoating it. And last night proved exactly the point. When a manager doesn't get it right, we don't win a game. It's as simple as that.
So that does segue nicely then, I guess, as to kind of the where do we go from here? Because obviously, with people have banged on about us not having the top-level manager under Southgate, we bring Tuchel in, who is somebody that has won tournaments and trophies at club level. And then we get to the point where, as you say, he's probably got us through those previous knockout games. Comes to the crunch last night, doesn't work. Where do we go from here? I mean, Jed says total rebuild or what, boys? I mean, that would suggest a change of manager, I think, a total rebuild. But then the question is, if you get rid of Thomas Tuchel, I can't imagine there's going to be a mass amount of also elite managers that might want to have a crack. I mean, how much do you want to throw at Pep Guardiola? Where do you think we'll go from here? And where do you expect? I personally, I can't see the FA necessarily sacking Tuchel, and I think he will still fancy a crack at the Euros being a home tournament in Britain.
I don't know. I can't help but still be sat on the level of performances that I've seen through the whole competition. I praise Tuchel in the moments where he got it right and he changed games or held on to games. But overall, we've had a good 45 minutes in the second half against Croatia. That's really it. I thought we were completely second best for large parts against Norway. I thought we were pretty fortunate against Congo, if I'm honest. Mexico, it's hard to say because we went down to 10 men. There were parts of the Mexico game that were good, 2-0. Yeah, up until them scoring, I would say. But it was few and far between its fleet, and it wasn't what I was expecting when you add a manager like Tuchel with his reputation to... Yeah. Because I don't think we're great, if I'm honest. I kind of agree with Lou that I don't think we're quite good enough. We're not in the same catalogue as France and Spain. No. So we do need that manager to make the difference. And for me, he hasn't. Because I think any manager worth a crack at the England job would have got us the results that he got us. That's what I think.
What would you do then? Would you axe him and run the risk of the FA appointing Roberto Martinez, which is everybody's worst nightmare, of course? Or certainly mine.
I won't want Roberto Martinez.
I don't want Roberto Martinez, but I've got a stupid feeling that the FA would be like, oh, he's got international management experience. Yeah, he's fucking ruined the pair of Belgium and
You can go to Scotland instead.
You're probably right. Yeah, his missus is Scottish, isn't she? I mean, you could be right. I don't know. I don't know what I'd do, if I'm honest. I'd probably leave him in charge because you've given him till the end of the competition. Probably.
I was going to say, like, would even like, I don't know if Ancelotti's stepping away from Brazil or not, but if he was available, would he be a manager you'd be interested in, Lou?
Yeah.
Who would you be interested in?
But why would you leave Brazil to come to England? Why would you leave Brazil? Because we're two very similar teams at the moment.
Yeah.
The thing is what the FA did is that they threw all the eggs in one basket with Tuchel, hoping he were going to get us over the line, and it's ended up with egg on the face because it hasn't worked out. Now they've got an extra opportunity to do it through the Euros. My biggest concern is Tuchel has to regain, and it sounds dramatic, but I'll say this again, has to regain the trust of a lot of English fans, because a lot of English fans feel very let down after last night. And I don't, like I said earlier, I don't think it's disappointment. I actually think it's more anger about what happened last night. I think he's getting the trust of people upstairs, and I actually think he's going to have to gain some trust in a changing room. I don't want to speak on behalf of anybody, because I'm not saying it. I don't think some of them lads were happy last night of how that materialised last night. And I think he's got a lot of work to do to rebuild a lot of trust within people. And the only way he's going to do that is to win the Euros. I think he's put himself in a position where it's a bigger job than what it was when he stepped into it.
Yeah, I agree.
No doubt about it, in my opinion. And I think winning the Euros on home soil will erase a lot of memories of this. But this won't be forgotten a long time. It really won't. And listen, it depends how the FA want to take it. Have they got the cojones, so to speak, to go, right, Tuchel, you've got to win your dollar now, and you've got to win that tournament, or else you're out? Or do you put even more eggs in one basket and go for like Guardiola and say you have to win it? What do they want to do? This is up to the guys upstairs now who run the game, who run the England side, and say how serious are they about winning the tournament? Because they proved they were serious enough by appointing Tuchel, even though I'm the concerns, and I still have them still to this day. And I'm not saying actually my concerns were actually not about the tactical side of things. It's what we would look like after Tuchel left. But if you listen, Germany have gone and got Klopp. That's how serious they had about winning the next tournament. That's how serious. So we're either going to have to keep Tuchel or go get Guardiola. And I think Tuchel has got he's got Everest to climb now. He really has, because coming next Euros, you're not going to have an even better Harry Kane, because we've seen in tournaments sometimes he can dip his form. We saw that last time. We've seen it this time. Bellingham will obviously be there. We've seen players injured, and that's not through fault of his own, but you've got to deal with that situation. He got picked apart by the squad that he picked, and actually I'm not against the squad that he picked, if I'm being honest. I generally think this is a very, very difficult job for Tuchel to carry on with now. I really do. I don't think unless he wins a tournament. It's as simple as that.
Just let me say, Chris, quickly, because I'll forget otherwise. The players' reaction I thought was really telling. So I agree with Lou. I think the fans are one thing, because fans will always react in a certain way. He can win that trust back very quickly by winning football games again, and getting performances. But the players, I think, will feel very like they were left out to dry last night.
Yeah.
I don't believe that some of them will be very happy with the way that went last night. If your manager tells you what to do and your manager makes selection changes, substitution changes that change the game in such a dramatic way and leave you hanging out there with no option but to basically concede goals, what are they meant to think? They lose trust in the manager. That's why managers end up getting... Yeah.
That's the biggest thing, is the trust element. What happens if you go 1-0 ahead in a Euros quarter-final, semi-final? What does he do then?
Yeah.
He can't do what he's done, because we've got France, Spain, Germany, etc. to come up. He cannot afford to do what he did last night ever again if he's England manager. It's as simple as that. People would rather go out in a blaze of glory and attack and give it absolute everything you've got till the end. And I'm not saying the players didn't for 1 minute. Effort's a different thing. But I mean, if actually going to win that game, it's a completely different ball game. And I think, like I say, the trust has got to be rebuilt in a lot of areas for him to continue. The worrying thing is there's nobody else really to walk in apart from Guardiola who can really take it to the level.
This is what we're going to come to, Jen, and kind of put to you off the back of what Lou had said, really, is that, and look, as Nigel says, he says Pep was his choice before Tuchel was appointed, although just thinking back to that point, at that stage, Pep was obviously still the Manchester City manager. Tuchel was appointed to beat in tournament games, brilliant with Mexico, rode our luck against Norway. Last night, Tuchel's tackled about 5 sitting too deep, absolutely. I guess we are in that situation, though, where if Tuchel were to be dispensed with, it has to be a Pep level appointment, because again, with the greatest respect to other managers, but if we go in after a Tuchel appointment and then go back to Roberto Martinez, Sean Dyche, and Eddie Howe, if people are clamoring for an English manager again or whatever, there is nobody of that elite level. With the greatest respect to him, there is still nobody of Tuchel's eliteness in terms of what he's achieved as a manager that is out there, that is English for one. And the only man that probably, or one of the very few men that would better it that's out there, the only man that probably is out there is Pep. So
it is.
Again, it's all well and good because it's one of those, you'd have to tap up Pep first because there's no point sacking Tuchel for Pep to say no thanks, and then you're left looking at Roberto Martinez.
I want to see if Jay says what I think. Go on, Jay.
I'm probably not gonna. I don't know. I mean, Pep might not even want the job, mate.
Well, this is the thing. If he doesn't, then we really
exactly what I was going to say. Why on earth would Pep Guardiola come to a side that isn't good enough to win a tournament by itself?
To be fair, he knows
he's going to change his own career by coming to us. He isn't.
We know for a fact that he won't manage Spain. So because of his Basque heritage, he won't manage Spain. So if he was going to manage anyone, I actually genuinely think that if he was going to turn to international football, we've got as better chance as any other nation, to be fair, simply because he's managed here long enough. He knows enough of the players through club level and through the links. And he's a manager that is of that elite level that actually could make that change for us going forward. So I don't think it's beyond the realms of possibility if Pep were to go into international management that we'd be pretty high on his list, to be fair. I really don't.
I kind of lean on what Lou says, though, in that he wouldn't have the players to play anything like the Pep football that we've seen. He's an elite manager, yes, but he's an elite manager of the best quality footballers that you can buy.
Is this a problem then with Tuchel, though, as well? Because obviously it's a different game to the club level to the international that we've seen.
Yeah, maybe. There's definitely that challenge comes with international football, which maybe then leans you more towards Ancelotti as a better option, because he's a great manager of people more than he is of, maybe the technical side. Yeah. But I think this is such an unenvious position for the FA. That Lou's right in that they've kind of made a rod for their own back. I do agree with him as well in that I think it's worse than it was before now. I think that this situation that we find ourselves in would have been better not giving him the contract and then having a decision to now make. Because it had been a clean break, because there was never an idea that it was going to go past this tournament if they decided that they wanted to do this. Or you give him a new contract based on the progression that you wanted to then sell as the idea. So I don't know, mate. I really don't know what to do, because I can't point us in a direction of somebody from a national point. Lou will be able to tell us
here.
Well,
Eddie Howe was a man that was touted before. Obviously, though, his stock has probably fallen quite drastically over the last 18 months as a club level manager, and Lou will know best.
You know what, on Eddie Howe, right? Eddie Howe, for a short period of time, and when I say short, I'm talking 2 to 4 years, would probably be the best option that you can possibly imagine. Because I think Eddie Howe is a very, very good people manager. Short-term injection of belief and character and feeling. We've seen it at all of his club sides. The turnaround that he managed to be able to do at Newcastle was unbelievable. So maybe that could be a solution, and maybe you could look to develop Eddie Howe into being a better longer-term manager. Because I don't know if Lou would agree with this, but I think what you're seeing at Newcastle is some of it's off the pitch, but I think also you're looking at the fact that Eddie Howe has had his time. I think there's a sell-by date. There's a sell-by date with most managers, by the way, but I think there's a sell-by date with Eddie Howe. I think we saw that at Bournemouth. I think we're now seeing that at Newcastle. So that'd be the obvious and probably the best option, but I'm struggling to make a case for it being a great option, if I'm honest.
I think that's fair. Lou, what would be your take on Jed's kind of mentioning of Eddie Howe?
What Eddie Howe's done at Newcastle, our club, is been phenomenal. He's transformed a club that was getting relegated into the Championship to being in Champions League twice in 2 years and the Cup winners in the first time in 60 years. No doubt about it. He's been unreal. My concern with Eddie is being his in-game management, especially this last year or two. I think it's been questionable, which worries me because that's what international football is all about. It's not about developing players because you're getting players who are ready-made. Eddie Howe's arguably one of the best, if not the best, English coach around in developing players, getting the best out of them, squeezing every last inch of ability out of them. International football is not like that. It's putting systems and frameworks and processes in place for the guys to achieve at the highest level and affect games when it really matters. And I'm not sure whether Eddie Howe is that person. I agree. I think his time at Newcastle is very shortly going to come to an end. If I was him, I would be putting feelers out for it and just exploring what possibility there is around it. But I think we'd be in the same situation as what we are now. I don't see where we go from it. I really don't, because I think what's happened last night is completely not what was expected from the FA and any of us altogether. I don't think we're expecting that to happen. I think we're expecting Tuchel to be as good as he possibly could be, make the changes that would affect the games, and if we were to go out, it was just going to be really unlucky. That wasn't the case last night for me. I think it's raised a lot more questions than answers. I don't, because he doesn't want to taint his own career. Pep's a serial winner. He wins trophies wherever he goes because he has the best players available to him, and he's able to do that. England has some of the best players in the world, but not the best team in the world. And I think for him to go to England would be probably his biggest challenge he's facing his entire career. I'd love to see him come to us. I think he'd check it up. My question is, I don't think we're able to attract him because I don't think we're good enough to do that. I think we are looking at the likes of an Eddie Howe for somebody like that who can be a sensible appointment, who will get people on his side, will get players on his side, and we'll try our best and we'll have a go and we'll see how far we can go without real much expectation. And I'm not saying we went into this tournament with a lot of expectation, but what we did expect is for Tuchel to carry on what he showed in this tournament to get us over the line, and unfortunately he didn't.
It will be very interesting to see how things progress. I personally can't see them. I can see us taking Tuchel into the Euros and then a change lying afterwards, unless by some in some situation Pep does fancy it and lets the FA know that pretty damn quickly. We will see. Kind of final question on some of the playing squad then, from as Jed kind of mentioned earlier, some of the players past their use by it. I mentioned Harry Kane, and is this the time to start dropping Kane and start looking to the future in terms of England strikers and the way we play and bringing in kind of different options forward, because he will be 33 in 12 days' time. Will Harry Kane? He'll be 34 turning 35 at the Euros. There's obviously going to be players like Jordan Henderson. This will be his last World Cup in any way, shape, or form, we would think. John Stones will be pushing 33, 34 come the Euros as well. Are we at a point where we are going to start seeing some of those older heads perhaps move away from international selection full stop and a new blood come through? Or do you think, to come to you on this one, Lou, to start with, do you think we'll see some of these heads now stick around for the Euros, and then if a change is made thereafter, that's when it will be kind of a bit of a reset and a rebuild going forward with a younger mentality and some of those experienced ones gone? Because by that point, Bellingham will be 25, and one of the most senior ones in the side, for example.
There's always going to be churning in national teams. There always is. I think there'll be a few in there that won't be there for the Euros just because either not playing, they're not in form, they're injured, or they're just not fancied by the manager at that time. My concern has been up front for a long time. If Kane isn't there for the Euros, I think he probably will be, because who else is coming through? We haven't got many coming through. We talk about Rio Enganoa coming through. He's not a striker. He's a winger. Gordon might be utilised a little bit better from Barcelona up the middle, but he's not a number 9. We haven't got that kind of calibre coming through. And even though we probably didn't see it from Kane for a long time until he just flicked a switch overnight and turned into this unbelievable striker, because we hadn't seen that for years and years before, we haven't got those kind of players coming through. Again, I keep going back to it. We're not a good enough team at the moment, and probably in 2 years' time, to win a tournament without the intervention of a manager doing what's expected of a manager to do. That's what we're employed to do. And I just think yeah, even if Stones doesn't make it, or probably Byrne doesn't make it, or I mean Henderson hasn't played a minute and he's got yellow card in and a broken arm. Kane doesn't make it. Who else is coming through? We've got players, and they're very good players, but are they the same quality from what France might be at the time, from what Spain might be at the time? We can get our crystal balls out. We can hope and pray that we are, but at the end of the day, we've just not been good enough to get over the line, and I don't see how we're going to get those players to replace those that are starting, the likes of Kane, ready for 2 years' time. I can't see a ready-made England number 9 ready in the next 2 years. That's at that level to take us to a tournament victory.
I completely agree. I think the question comes for some of the John Stones, the Jordan Hendersons. I think they're absolutely probably the last tournament that they'll see. Maybe not for Stones. I don't know, but Harry is a level and then another level above anything that we've got coming through. And given the way that he plays the game, given the way that his numbers are still racking up, and he's in domestic club football, he's probably even getting better. He's never had an abundance of pace, so it's not like we need to worry about him losing a yard. Like, that's just not the way that it goes. At 35, by modern day terms, he'll still be pretty fresh. I mean, look at what Messi's done at this tournament. And I know we're talking about a generational freak, but as far as England are concerned, Harry Kane's a generational freak. He just broke the outfield player record yesterday, 121. He'll go past Gordon Banks, no problem. Shilton, not Gordon Banks. Yeah. He'll go past him as well. So, for me, I think Harry will still lead the line while we look at what's in reserve. And I'm not being disrespectful to Ollie Watkins or Ivan Toney, but we were talking pre-show about Dominic Calvert-Lewin making the squad, and this is the package and the group of individual players that we've got in that area of the pitch behind Harry Kane. It's miles away, mate. And I mean, there is a further conversation. It's not for now, but about the development of young talent within this country. It's becoming more and more few and far between. How many real quality youngsters were we thinking of bringing to the tournament? When I say quality youngsters, I'm talking 19, 20, 21-year-old. There's not a whole host of an abundance of that age group of talent now that are playing week in, week out of the Premier League. That there's not, or even really, flirting with the squad. It's not what it was 10, 15 years ago. It's not what Spain and France have got coming through. It's not.
Which seems peculiar, because you think of those last 8 years under Southgate, the one thing that he brought through was a lot of the young players who obviously now are 23, 24, 25 years old.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting kind of stage, and possibly even a difficult stage of kind of that England development, because you look at the young strikers, and obviously the number 9 role in particular, and obviously your England 21 striker within the last 2 years, or last 2 or 3 years, was kind of Liam Delap, but obviously he's not really kicking on at club level. And it's a big ask to see that he could kick on in the next 2 weeks and next 2 seasons. Sorry, to be that quality striker that we would need it. The other thing, I guess, as well, is personal preference and whether the older heads will want to carry on, or whether Harry Kane might get to a point and think, you know what, enough of this, and whether he might take the decision out of people's hands.
But it also depends on the manager who's in charge, because we've seen. I won't say generational talents, but we've seen people who we thought, like Foden and Palmer, as the next, cab off the block, and an elite manager in Tuchel hasn't taken them to World Cup to win a tournament.
I think it's fair, though, because they both had terrible seasons last year.
Where do we go from that? So, we are producing some decent players who are playing at highest level, but we've seen Foden not been able to squeeze in at Pep Guardiola, who we arguably want him to come in as England manager, but then we've arguably got one of the best English chancellors who can't get in the squad. We've got Cole Palmer, who's in and out, was expected to go, doesn't get picked by an elite manager. So where do we go from here? So it's all right calling for likes of Pep stuff and coming in, but actually probably arguably the best English player technically in that final third, in that Man City squad, doesn't get picked week in, week out. It's a starting 11. So we're now getting to the point where we are running out of resources and top quality elite players. We've got Jude that will carry us for the next 10 years. That's fine. But who's to say Jude doesn't go, I'm going to concentrate on club football? Because we might not stand a chance of winning tournaments. He might want to concentrate on winning as many trophies as he can at Real Madrid. And sometimes you can't blame these players for doing it. I think it's a shame. I think we've missed. Listen, we've not been great. We're not an elite side, but we had again an opportunity, and I feel it's a shame because in our lifetime we've seen a group of players who are capable of winning a tournament. Not the best team in the tournaments, but we have been capable of winning tournaments, and we've had chances to do it, and we have gifted teams the opportunity to take it away from us. And it hurts.
We will head towards wrapping up there. Good comment. This chap says his wife's Argentinian divorcing him this week. He then made another question asking about why we sat so deep. If you've joined us late, you'll be able to catch this from the start when we had a much longer conversation about the game last night and explained why and how we ended up so deep last night. Final couple of comments. Nigel, hope Spain win the final. Didn't like the Argentina anthem and no love lost after the Falklands. Certainly not with that bloody banner that they put out last night. And then Jed, he says the Premier League Academy players that get contracted end up being loaned out to lower leagues and just fade away. I've seen that happen more and more potentially nowadays than we have in the last few years. Look, we will leave it there because I appreciate that you two have got things to do this afternoon, and we could probably go on for another hour or two about the future of the England setup, but we will leave that for another night's show. Thank you to Jason Booker and to Lewis Sale for joining us on this debrief after England's exit from the World Cup. I think I'll be on with Brownie tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. to look ahead to the two final games from the World Cup at the weekend. Obviously, England play on Saturday at 10 p.m. and Spain versus Argentina.
Can we not?
The most pointless game of the tournament.
Can we just give them a default 3-0 win? Sorry to jump in your throw there. I hate that third place game.
If I don't watch it, I'm really not bothered.
It's interesting because one of my mates was like, how long has that been a thing? And I looked into it. It always is the simple answer.
Yeah.
Right back from the first World Cup, there's been that third place playoff, that, or is it's now being called for some bizarre reason a bronze medal match, but strange one. It is. And yeah, the last time we were in that against Belgium in 2018, it didn't go so well either. So I'm not expecting anything against the French, put it that way. Let's wrap it up there then. I say a big thank you to Jason Booker, to Lewis Sale. I've been Chris Bell. Don't forget, like and subscribe to the channel. It really does make a world of difference if you subscribe. We're at over 2,000 subscribers now, and you'll get notifications as well whenever a show is scheduled to let you know what's coming up. Jay, I'm guessing you and Brownie, we're back at, 11 o'clock-ish tomorrow with your Leeds content?
We will. We'll be going over the impending signing of Tariq Mahovic.
I thought you'd been practicing.
Obviously. I have been pronouncing, and then I've forgotten it. But the big Bosnian who had a great World Cup, and that's a super exciting sign, and loads going on at Leeds at minute. Busy. So yeah, join us from 11 o'clock tomorrow for the Leeds content.
I'll say I'll be with Brownie from 10 to kind of finish up the World Cup, and then I'm guessing one day next week we might have a few of us jump on just to have a bit of a World Cup review and a bit of a debrief about the tournament as a whole. So yeah, keep an eye out for that one as well. Enjoy the rest of your whatever the hell we're on now, Thursday. The days I'm still not up to date with these days, malarkey, during this World Cup. Enjoy the rest of your day, whatever you get up to, and we'll see you again soon though here on the West Yorkshire Football Show. Take care.